Welcome, dear students. I am Mr. Emmanuel Charles from Edukea Tanzania. Yes, today our evening class is about civics subject, Form 3 topic, which is called economic and social development. So, first of all, we need to know the meaning and the concept of economic development, indicators of economic and social development, factors for social and economic development and their impact, the financial institution in economic development. That's all. We are going now to study the concept and the levels of economic development. The meaning and the concept of economic development. This is, we can say, this is a gradual change from lower stage to a better advanced stage. Advanced stage in the different aspect of life, as it is shown here. Such aspect may be material, social, cultural, and political. So, in any nations, development is defined in different aspects, and those aspects are like material, social, cultural, and political. If a nation has grown in case of political, cultural, social, and material, that is what we call development. And this development has divided in different levels. Apart from, according to our topic, there are two levels of developments or economic developments. Those levels of developments are individual level of developments and the national level developments. Let us look one after another. Individual level of developments. What does it mean? Class. When you say individual level of economic development or individual level of development, we means to refer or to increase of material well-being of a person, like goods, houses, cars, clothes, and a greater freedom. At this level, development refers to the increase of human skills and the ability in production. So when we say individual level of development, means the gradual change or the changes which exist at a personal level. Changes to own a major means of production and something which has a value, like cars. If you have money to buy a car, which means that you have developed from one stage to another stage. You have good houses, means you have changed from the lower stage to the higher stage of social and individual developments. In short, development at individual level involves skills and the ability in production. When you increase the ability of production with the ability of making a production, of which means the end product of production, it is development. Because development is a product of the human effort. When a person uses his or her effort to make a production, and that production will give him things which have the value. So that's something which has a value will increase the development of a person. That is all about individual level in case of development. The second level of development is social or national level. When we come up to see the social or national level, we refer to the improvement in social, economic, cultural, and political affairs of community or a country. Any country has different community. So within those communities, there is political affairs. If any country has a political affairs, people involved in election, people involved in politics, free, and they have their freedom. That is development in case of politics. And the nation has improvement in socio-economic. So if a nation, any nations has the ability to improve in social and economic developments, that is what we call national or social developments. So by looking at this, we say that it involves the provision of better health service, water accessibility, political development at the national level. This is all is about the social and the national level. If a nation has developed in case of development or has the gradual change from the lower stage to the higher stage, this means that the nation can afford to provide health service, water accessibility, and the provision of better living conditions of people, and the provision of other services like infrastructures, schools. That implies that the nation has developed and has changed from the lower stage to the higher stage of economic development. Types of developments. There are two types of developments, which are economic development and the social developments. When we come up to see these two types of developments, we say that economic development is the situation whereby a community of a given nation increases its ability to produce goods and services of better quality and the quantity. Economic development. By providing goods and a good service of better quality and the quantity, that is economic development. Means the economy of a certain community or a country has improved and has increased from the lower to the higher stage of development. This implies the increase in a national income due to proper utilization of both the natural and the human resources. Quality and the quantity means the something which is produced is better and has a quality. That's why we say quality. And the quantity is the higher or amount of things which is produced within a certain country to improve or to imply that the country now has grown and a change from dependent to independent itself through the utilization of the available resources, which are natural and the human resource. And the human resources, we could say, are human beings whom are found within that country. But natural resources are those resources like gold, copper, diamonds, and the gas, which are found within a certain country. That is all about natural, economic, natural, and the human resource. So we are talking about economic development. Let us see now the indicators of economic development in any country. The first is per capita income. When we talk about per capita income, this means this is an average income of the people of a given country, whereby every person has something to own per year. That is what we say per capita income. And this per capita income can be per capita income can be calculated through gross national product national product. Yes, per capita income is calculated through gross national product divided by total product, by total population of the country. When we say total population of the country, is the whole number of people available in a country. So per capita income is what implies that the nation has developed or not. So everybody or every person has an ability to own something, to own an amount of money in nations. The second indicator of economic development, is labor force employment in agriculture. In the developing country like Tanzania, the labor force country number of people involved in agriculture is higher, while in developed country the number is low due to the modern farming method application. So the labor force employment in agriculture in most African countries or in most developing countries, the labor force employment in agriculture is very high due to the raw science and technology compared to the developed country, whereby in the developed country labor force employment is very low due to the application of advanced machines like tractor and the other farming methods compared to developing country, whereby manpower is used very higher due to the using of raw science and technologies like hand hoes. So this shows how economic development is. Rate of energy consumptions. The rate of energy consumptions also, this is used to show how there is a difference between developed countries and developing countries due to the use of energy consumptions. In most of the developing countries like Tanzania and the other African countries which are developing countries still in the progress of development, the energy consumption is very low. But in developed nations like the Western countries, the energy consumption is very higher due to the industrialization So energy consumption is very higher. Right? Example of energy is gas, coal, and the other energies, whereby those energies are used to run machines and to be used in domestic purposes. So that is all about the rate of energy consumptions. So rate of energy consumptions is one of the indicators of economic development in any nations. Number 4, rate of employment opportunities. The rate of employment opportunities in most of the developed countries, opportunities are very higher. So most people are employed compared to developing countries, whereby in developing countries opportunities are very few, whereby most of the elites and the graduates are unemployed until today. Good examples like Tanzania. For about 5 years back, most of the educators and the elites whom are graduating from the universities are still at home. So compared to other nations, whereby after graduating, those graduates, they get opportunities in different companies due to the development of science and technology and the improvement of the multinational companies, and they have their big industries, whereby everybody after being graduated is required to be sent in a respective place compared to developing nations, whereby the number of employment opportunities is very low. Also, another is all about infrastructure. Infrastructure also implies that a certain country is developed or is developing. Example, in most African countries, take an example in Tanzania, most of infrastructure is still poor. Still poor, even if the governance has tried to ensure that there is a good infrastructure, but it's still low compared to developed nations where infrastructure is not a problem. Point number 6, quality and efficiency of tools produced. As you compare the tools or goods which are produced in developing nations and developed countries are quite different. So this shows how there is a difference between developed countries and developing nations. So it indicates that in case of economic development, a certain country is still low in case of development, and a certain countries is very higher in case of development. Compared to Western, example, compare African nations and compare to Western nations, whereby you find there is a gap, the gap between the tools which are produced in the Africans and the tools which are produced by the Western nations, whereby Western nations produce goods of a good quality compared to our nations. Point number 7 is daily food supply. Daily food supply, this means that in most of the African nations, we could say, most families do not get balanced diet, and the food which are supplied does not enough. It's very low compared to developed nations, whereby those developed nations produce good foods and enough foods, and which is very quality, has a good quality compared to us. They feed quality food, while us we take quantity and not quality. Yes, my dear class, this is the end of our session. But before to wind up, we want to solve this question with the concrete examples. Explain the 6 indicators of economic development in Tanzania. What is economic development in Tanzania? What is the indicators of economic development in Tanzania? So here, first of all, you need to explain the concept of economic development in Tanzania, and thereafter you will explain 6 indicators of economic development in Tanzania. Please make sure that everybody of you cooperate together. As you have learned before, we have learned different indicators of economic development in Tanzania, different indicators of economic development in other countries. They are all the same. So this question is very simple. Be humble, sit down, tackle your question very well, so that and read your notes so that you can be familiar.